So let's get into the second half of our program. Megan Hartman and Kyle Meek are two employees at Callis. Megan is the director of ops, and Kyle is the digital manager there. And so they're going to talk to us about what exciting things Callis has planned. And let's give them a hand. Thank you guys so much for allowing us to speak today. Like Sydney said, my name is Megan Hartman. I'm the Director of Operations at Callis. If you don't know Callis, we're a fully integrated agency based in Sedalia. Cliff, our owner, started the agency in '87, so we've been around a while. So we do everything from print to website development, really any marketing needs and advertising, that's what we can do for you. So we recently attended a digital summit with our peer group. It's a group of other agencies that we're able to network with and brainstorm things going on really in the marketing world. So Kyle has a lot of information to really share with you guys, and we'll be open for any questions that you have. So I'm going to turn it over to Kyle.
Well, thank you all for your time. And as Megan alluded to, we're going to talk some about some digital marketing trends today. We're going to start out with some SEO and website stuff. We'll talk about digital advertising and associated content with it. We'll talk a little bit about social media and some trends we see there. And then we'll talk about some things you should kind of be watching for as we go forward. I'm going to try and follow along kind of the same order as this handout. So if I jump around a little bit, I apologize. We just did a bigger webinar recently, which we linked to, or put a link for on this handout. If you'd like to learn a little bit more, there's going to be that as well. And I'll try to be kind of quick so we don't go in the whole webinar with us. Quite a bit longer than what we have.
It is a half-an-hour webinar, so we'll put it in 6 minutes.
So I'll try and be a little bit quick. So first, let's start with websites and SEO. And I like to start with websites because I think that's probably the most important investment from a marketing standpoint for a smaller business. And the reason I think that's the most important is because not only is it an investment in the foundation for everything digital, because you send your ads back to your website, you try to get conversions out of your website or your sales, you're trying to drive them for donations, whatever your business goal is, that's where you're sending people. So I think that's the most important place to start. It's really the foundation. And the good thing is if you aren't doing any digital advertising at that time, it still will continue to work for you. It's a minor investment after you get it done, just some upkeep, and it'll keep on delivering results for you. So when you're looking at a website, you really want to look at both performance, if it's going on mobile, and you want to look at SEO, so search engine optimization. And search engine optimization means making your website in a way where Google or Bing or whatever the search engine somebody's using is will understand your website and be able to find your content, and you'll appear higher. And when you're looking at SEO, there's kind of 4 pillars, we like to say. There's technical SEO, so that's kind of behind the scenes stuff. It's performance, it's how your site's built. There's optimizing and increasing conversions. That's really improving your page content and making sure you appear higher on the search engine, so doing some things that search engines like. You also want to really think about your content, how you're getting it out there, how you're producing it, because you can produce really great content. But if you don't have a plan to get it out there and get it found by search engines, and you don't have it easily found on your website, it's not going to be good. And then we also going to talk a little bit, in SEO, you want to talk a little bit about building authority. So that's local SEO, or that's going to be citations. So making sure Yellow Pages, Google My Business, all these other things that send people back to you and get your information out there, know who you are, and build authority for your site. The other part of websites, so you have the SEO side, and then you really have how you build your site. You want to make sure your site's mobile first. So that means that it's great on all devices. You can see the content in any view, so on your smartphone and your tablet. There's thousands of different sizes of devices. You want to make sure everything looks great and all that. Last thing you want somebody to do is go to your site on the phone and they can't see your text because it's sitting over here and your phone screen's that big. So you really want to think about mobile views first, because that's where most people view your content now. And you really want to think about performance, because search engines like Google really care about how fast your site loads. And users do too. So, if your site takes 20 seconds to load, a lot of people are going to click on it and jump off before they even see anything. Because people aren't very patient to find in general with things like websites. So that's really kind of an overview of websites. Next, let's talk a little bit about social media. And what we've seen with social recently is that, Facebook and all these different platforms kind of push businesses down these days. You don't get as much real estate as you used to. So what we've seen works really well is kind of supplementing your organic with just a little bit of paid. So, maybe boosting your post and your most important audience just for a little bit of money to help you get some traction when you're starting out. As far as content that works well, video works well, live video, kind of like we're talking about with telethons. Some things where it's live and it's interactive and it draws people in. That works great on social and across marketing in general. User-generated content is really driving people to provide images, interact with your brand in an organic and authentic way. And that's going to give you more credibility than you putting out, your best marketing pitch. You really want people to come back and talk about you. So that's going to give you a lot of credibility. And video continues to be effective on social. So we really want to continue using video. Another great item is the promotions giveaways. So, getting people to talk about your brand, interact, enter in a giveaway, and then you're kind of getting back to the community and interact with people in a good way. On top of that, we want to talk about some things that work well with digital advertising right now. One of the things that's working really well is OTT, or over-the-top television. So that's going to be streaming video, so the ads you get through Hulu or Netflix or any of those other platforms, those ads that come through there. It's not coming through your traditional cable provider, but it still lets you get high-quality commercials out there that could be similar to what you're doing with TV, but at a much more flexible budget. And you get a lot more data about who's seeing it and how they're interacting with it. And you can do a lot of the same stuff with YouTube as well. There's also programmatic audio, so that's going to be ads on Spotify or Pandora. That can kind of replace or supplement radio and helps you get the same benefits of having better data and knowing how it's working and being a little more flexible with how you spend it. And what we really see is we would never suggest anyone go completely away from the traditional methods. What we see is if you integrate both traditional and digital, you're going to get better results. You make them work together and be cohesive, you're just going to make them both stronger. So we suggest, adding in digital and really supplementing what you're currently doing. Targeted digital media is still hitting the most important people. So if you're targeting well, we still think it's one of the most impactful ways to reach your audience. One last thing we want to talk about is some things that you can kind of expect to see changing coming soon, or some things you should keep an eye out on. And that's really has to do with SEO right now, privacy laws. There's a lot of different things changing with California privacy laws, GDPR. All these things that are changing how marketers can kind of interact with data from users. And AI, which is really changing, how a lot of businesses operate, including marketing. So for SEO, we talked about it a little bit already. Google really cares about performance, and that's getting even more important. There's going to be a new update to how Google index sites, so that's how they rank your site, so how good it is. And it's called Core Web Vitals, and it's all about how fast your site loads and how good of a quality it is. So if you have a lot of ads in there, things jump around, if you kind of use bad practices and it loads slow, you're going to get a lot bigger penalty than you would have. And you'll get a lot better boost if you have a performance site that's really good for the users. With data and privacy laws, there's a lot changing, a lot less data. So what we kind of suggest doing is making sure you're building your own email list. Making sure you have ways to reach out to people that's not just relying on a media partner. So make sure you have some information that you have control over so you still have a way to talk to people if you do lose access to some data or a partner. And with AI, really the thing is just to keep on looking for ways that can benefit you. AI is doing a lot of things in the background. It's making people's ads better on Facebook or Google, wherever it might be. They're helping you prioritize which ads work best. And we'll continue doing that, but there's going to be a lot of different things that might be able to help with from content creation, testing things, and it's only going to keep on growing and getting bigger and better. And it'll obviously help you with the kind of mundane stuff, automate basic tasks and help you get through those faster and more efficiently. And I think that's most of the trends I have. I know one other thing we want to say, anytime you're considering doing marketing, is quality content is key. So you want to make sure that regardless of what methods you're using or how you're reaching out to people, that you want to make sure you're putting out quality content. Because if your content isn't any good, it's not going to matter how far you push it out there, people still aren't going to want to interact with it. That's what I have for the trends, but it didn't take too long to go too fast.
And something else, Callis talking about content, something new that we have launched is our Outdrive podcast. So we're a few months into that. We've got quite a few episodes in the hopper. So that is really just talking to different people in the marketing industry or just business in general, talking about how to advertise and market to rural America. That's what we focus on. That's where we are. That's what we know. It's who we are. We have that Midwest mindset, and that's the people we want to do business with. So that's how we've launched that, and along with our regular blogs. So that's the content that we continue to generate. What questions do you have for us? Jessica?
So as an integrated marketing firm based here in Sedalia, I think the misnomer is that your clients are right here in Sedalia. Can you speak to some of your statewide or your national clients, if you can speak to who those are? And I'm always surprised at the reach that Callis based here in Sedalia has nationally.
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of our clients right now are pretty regional, so they're within the state of Missouri. We've worked with Missouri Beef. We've worked with MOPR, which is educating consumers on the use of propane for electric. In the past, we've worked with Walter Arms, that is an international company. We were heavy in the shooting outdoor sports. The market kind of flattened a little bit, so we've naturally, progressively changed. But those are some of our big clients. We've done some magazine work for Cannon Safes, also sells international. So we're not just Sedalia. We have a lot of great clients that are based in Sedalia that we've had long-standing relationships with, but our reach is national.
Yes. Did you guys find through the pandemic that maybe the digital outreach that you guys have or the trends, did that change? Did it get better or worse, or how did that look in 2020?
That's a great question. So much is digital now. People are starting to get zoomed out. We transitioned in 24 hours to a virtual office for a couple months. We had meetings through Zoom. We still see the traditional media working for our clients and those that are supplementing with digital. Like Kyle said, it's not either or, it's both, because your audiences are in both areas. With digital, there's just more of that targeting, and you have the clear, it's not just a mass target, you're just targeting by interest and people that you know from their browsing history that they could potentially be interested in the product. So yes, we have seen an increase, but there's also the fatigue too of everything being digital. So direct mail is still great. There's not as much of that as there used to be, and we're seeing a lot of success with that.
So we've also seen, we went to Digital Summit recently, talked to a lot of different agencies, and kind of nationally, some of them we're seeing kind of more of a go back to the roots of what they've been doing. So digital is still great because there's more people on more screens. And there's a little more competition because a lot of people are transitioning that way, but kind of going back to, looking at their websites and optimizing those so they continue to deliver, and then really focusing on what works. Kind of auditing and seeing what's working, so you're not spending more, but you're improving what you're currently spending on results.
What percentage of your total budget for an organization should be spent on marketing and outreach?
It's a great question. It really depends on the industry. It's anywhere from 8 to 15% of your revenue should be spent on marketing. So it really depends on what industry you're in and what your product is. But that's kind of a general rule of thumb.
Same true for nonprofits. I know a lot of my nonprofits here in the room today.
Yeah, that I don't know off the top of my head, but I would say that it's going to be pretty similar.
Okay.
Yes.
You mentioned something about direct mail.
Yes.
Now, we hear it both ways. Do it electronically, send it in the mail. Do it both. How often do you do it? We are getting ready to send out our Christmas cards that were printed here in town. We had a really neat contest. One of our clients designed it, and he won a little prize. And about 2,000 client families are going to get a card in the mail because a lot of people don't get anything. So my question to you is there a balance? I mean, we still, we're fundraising like many others here. Do you want it in your hand? Do you want it on your phone? Is there a right answer?
It's a fantastic question. And everybody wants it differently. There are some, just even in our office, there's some that want that want everything printed out and to look, and others that want it digital. So having it in both ways is important. And Kyle can probably talk a little more about how often to do email, but it's really going to depend on what your engagement level is and the quality content. But you think about the amount of emails that you get. I get hundreds of emails a day that I need to respond to, but I don't get as much direct mail. So that can potentially, I'm one that can't have unread emails in my mailbox, but I can set a direct mail piece on my desk and look at it later. So it's a balance of both.
I think we would say we've seen a little bit of revival to direct mail for that same reason that it used to be, you didn't get very many emails and you get a ton of direct mail. And now it's kind of almost flocked. So there's a little bit of revival with direct mail. And you talk about doing both. We actually just wrote about this for an agency article about integrating direct mail and email and other things. So that's out there too if you want to read that. But kind of the gist is, if you make them work together and you kind of have them communicate supporting messages, they can kind of improve on each other. And if you have access to some data sets or, I don't know if you have like CRM or customer information, that you can kind of make them work together and drive back some customer information, that all kind of helps. Customizing the message in the direct mail and then customizing the received email and on the website can kind of help. So that's kind of a new spin on make them work together and improve. As far as frequency, some people like Domino's can get away with sending you 4 emails a day about getting pizza, and you'll probably accept it, or Amazon. And they'll get you still. But for a lot of businesses, once a week, twice a month, or once a month is kind of a good balance. It really depends on, do you have an important message to send, or are you just sending to send? And then really being regular with it really helps too. So if you have time, you're always there. People kind of naturally get used to that, kind of set aside time if you're important to read. So, making sure you're regularly hitting that on the dot every time you send at the same time really is important too. So it depends a little bit on your business for frequency. You don't want to send too much though, because sometimes that will actually push down engagement. So that's kind of a fine line. Really, you got to watch your data. You got to look at what the emails telling you is your open rate going down, and you're sending a little more often. You probably want to back off a little bit. But if you're look like you have a solid open rate, you can probably send a little more often. But if you start to see that fluctuation go down, you might want to pull back a little bit. That's kind of what you do. And be cautious and send a little less, so you don't hurt your audience and kind of push people away.
What is a good open rate?
That will depend on industry a little bit, and it depends on your list size. So, some people are sending huge lists. We'd be happy with, 5% because they have a ton of people. But really what they should be doing is pulling back that list and hitting people that are more important. Because, you pay to send to people. And we'll see some people that have almost like 30 to 50%. So I would say you're not going to probably ever get over 50% unless you really got something important there. But 20% is probably a pretty solid rate. You need to look be specific, and you want to look at the industry too.
Does Callis use a texting service? And if so, which one?
We have used Textcaster for clients in the past. It's not part of an ongoing campaign, but they've been really beneficial. But we have done that for specific targeted messages.
I think if you're also interested in anything like chatbot related, a lot of them now integrate in with texting services too. So that might be a way if you want to look at one or both. They could kind of work together and might be able to save some costs.
Any other questions?
What can we do for you guys?
I knew it was coming. We're a local agency. If you have marketing needs, we'd encourage you to reach out, but also support your local businesses, especially during the pandemic. A lot have been hit really hard, so do what you can to support these local businesses.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys so much.